And a very good evening, and we're back. We're absolutely back for Nrrrl action. 4 more sleeps, people. And there was some uncertainty around it since we all went into lockdown towards the end of March. We were supposed to be kicking off first weekend of April, but there was a lot of would be, could be, and it's all coming along neatly. So as long as there's nothing else that other curveballs this coronavirus will throw, will be on the air live stream come Sunday. And what a way to kick it off with the champions from last year, the Ballina Seagulls, taking on the Bilambil Jets, who are the newcomers from Rugby League Gold Coast. And that will be taking place at Bilambil out in the valley there. Are you excited, Mickey, for first time in the Nrrrl? How's it all feeling?
Yeah, very excited. We, like you said, I think the draw was changed about 3 or 4 times, and we were going to Lismore, and then we were playing Byron Bay, actually.
Yep.
And then after it all, I think they've, decided to stitch us up with putting us against the defending premiers. But hey, what a test to start.
Yeah, throw you straight into the deep end, mate. Straight into the deep end. And so, and of course, even though you were in their grand final day last year, you're also part of the Nrrrl commentary team for this year too. So we're absolutely stoked to have you, buddy.
Yeah, cool. It's exciting stuff. And like you said, you're no stranger to Bilambil. Me and you done a game down there last year. I don't know if the other boys.
Yep.
Fingers crossed everyone can get down to Bilambil for this season. And it's definitely a different place to play and watch football. So.
Yeah. And of course, also joined in once again from my other 2 sparring partners from the last couple of seasons, none other than Nathan Cross and Michael Shaw. Boys, we didn't know this was going to happen, but we're here.
G'day, Nev. Hi, Shori. Mickey.
Yeah.
See, Mickey, Duaneo, good to be here.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, sure, it's looking to be a little bit pixelated there. So nothing's changed in the last, 6 or 7 months, and especially with the whole lockdown thing. So, but looking good as ever, Shori.
Is that fixed? Mike's a bit far away. I was trying to get in my the fireside got going on here, and Crossy requested a special shirt, so I've got Byron Bay tie shirt on, especially for Crossy today for this chat.
On your Shori, I love your dress sense is outstanding, mate. You haven't let me down again, so thank you.
So, whilst as I made mention, so a question to all you 3 boys before we get into the nitty gritty and doing the business in regards to round 1 and the season ahead. As I made mention a couple of times just there, we didn't know if this was going to happen. We didn't know, there was a lot of, I didn't know if we were going to be doing this, even though the season was going to be going ahead. Didn't know that the season was going to be scrapped altogether. So just a quick question to all 3 of you lads. At what point did you realize that this could actually happen and we're going to get ahead despite what's happening with COVID at the moment?
I suppose I'll jump in there, Nev. Mate, I'm a little bit out of the loop. Mickey's probably the best one to answer, but just so I suppose while I've got the airtime, I train with Luke Douglas amongst a heap of other boys that sort of train a few mornings a week up the coast here. We train out of PBC High School.
Yeah,
just a bunch of sort of old, footy players and stuff that sort of hang out together. And Dougie mentioned to me, mate, it would have only been 2 or 3 weeks ago. He sort of said, "Yep, we're on." And it was sort of felt like you went from 0 to hero pretty quick. I kind of sort of thought it had been, it may not happen. But to answer your question in a long roundabout way, is that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Mickey probably has got some better intel.
Yeah, Mickey, you want to add to that?
Well, it was never, a definite, like Crossy said. It was kind of like you're umming and ahhing. But I'm on the, outside looking in, and when I saw the amount of effort going into trying to get the competition ahead for the Nrrrl committee and the board, and it was always yes, it was never no, and it was always looking for solutions to the problems that were coming. And it was just hope that, these guys are putting so much effort in and they're doing such a fantastic job. It's really going to be, it could go ahead. And now we're, 5 days away from round 1 or 4 days even. So
It's getting closer, Shorey.
Yeah, I think what Mickey said's spot on. It's like a lot of these people, what people do, it's their job to put on a rugby league show. So they're all there. What else are they going to do? They're going to get down to business and make things happen. And
Absolutely.
It's just unfathomable to go a year without playing rugby league. And once the NRL started kicking off again and they put in solutions and ground caps and stuff like that, I was never that doubtful, but I'm a bit of a always optimist.
Yeah.
But yeah, once they start, and the New South Wales Rugby League started doing a number of press releases saying they were going ahead with this and they were strategizing. And there's just so many people involved in this sport, and it's their job, so they're going to get out there and make it happen. And the clubs are keen. Everyone's keen. Everyone wants to play. So I've always been optimistic that we'll get out there and play.
You are the optimist, Shorey, and I guess I'll add to this on a more a production scale. It wasn't until about 3 weeks ago until we had a bit of a production meeting by our leader Goffy, and he got us to go over a barbecue and a couple of beers and stuff, and seeing what we can do, and I think it really came to me when I made my first trip to Queensland. What was it, a couple of weeks ago, and because the option now of doing remote streaming. And so, but then again, I also needed the studio, when I say studio, makeshift studio at the missus' place where she's got 10 times more room than I've got. So when I went up there for the weekend a couple of weeks ago to try and, level out cable and, test this mic, test a few other bits and pieces, and to see if that's to just do a little makeshift office. And then it was that day when I got the draw. I'm thinking, this is actually going to happen again, and we're all going to be back together doing what we love, and watching football on a Sunday. It's going to be so good.
Bloody oath it is. And I went down to the Red Devils training last night and just briefly spoke with the under-18s coach, and everyone's still on edge because there's the outbreak in Melbourne, of course, and everything's getting shut down there. Everyone's talking about flying over the border and this and that. And so where are we? Today's Wednesday. Just the way we've been operating the past, since March or February, whatever it is, everyone's still ready, or it could get shut down. But just aim for the best and prepare for the worst.
And that's what you got to do. That's all you can do. And but that's enough COVID discussion. We've had plenty of that over the last few months. So let's get into the nitty gritty of I'm gonna go through each of the teams and briefly. So with Lamble being new into the comp, but Mickey, you might not know how some of these teams would play. Just gonna go into say how they performed last season and what they can do better this year. Now, to all the viewers that are going to be either listening or watching this, we're going to put our hands up and say that, as Crossy just said, and I can just say, Shorey to a point, I'm absolutely out of the loop about as far as which players have moved where. We used to have that info, but we no longer have it on us, at least at this very moment. So we're going to assume that there's minimal changes, but of course, if there's plenty of changes, just drop us a comment or just let us know. And so we're just going to assume just the general, teams, how they've been playing the last few years. So let's start off with the champions, Ballina. I think all of us here agree that Ballina we're going to feature our top 5 later on, but it's going to be without Jamie Lyon. They've just picked up Luke Douglas, but it's Ballina's. We can all agree it's going to be Ballina's to lose again.
Yeah, well, I personally, and as we spoke off air, Nev and the rest of the boys yesterday were around. We don't really know who's in and who's out, as you've alluded to. But with Ballina, straight away, Luke Douglas comes in and he can be the glue in the middle of the field for them. And then if they retain guys like Coleman and Oliver Regan and all the usual suspects that they've got, then, they're top 3 without sort of even blinking and probably favourites to take it out again. So assuming that is the case, and that's what we do know. I know Dougie has mentioned that a lot of those guys I just mentioned sort of have been around and are training, and we
Yeah.
hope that they're fit and they're ready to go. So let's assume that's the case. And if it is, then, yeah, I've probably got them sitting on top.
Sorry?
You did ask for my tips. I put Ballina on top at first, and then I saw how loyal Mickey was to the Blamble Jets, and I went down to training last night. I saw the boys; they look really slick. Maybe I just haven't watched rugby league in person for that long, so I thought it was just an amazing performance.
Yeah.
Jamie Lyon's out. Luke O'Donnell's in. They're just a really good structured club, and you can just tell just by looking at the facilities. You see the clubhouse; they just look organised. They look in control, and they play like almost like a different kind of professionalism, really. So they are definitely gun favourites. I'd love to see them get beat and someone else really, stick it to them.
Gee,
it'd be great for the comp.
No subtlety
I
whatsoever,
love
mate.
Ballina. I mean, they're a sensational football club. It makes it interesting to see someone put it to them. So I hope a couple of teams can really stick it to them and put on a good challenge this year.
Yeah.
Because they were like last year, they were far and away. They dominated.
Absolutely. Now, Mickey, I remember you said in again, that game you mentioned that one time I went to Blamble during the Gold Coast League competition. Oliver Regan. I could safely say he's not wearing Jets colours this year. So he'll be another standout for Ballina, assuming he's still playing there.
Yeah, no, we've been trying to get Oliver to Blamble for the last few years. There's a connection. He used to play Queensland Cup with Thomas Rolls at Redcliffe, I think it was, and at Burleigh.
Yep.
And we've been trying to G him up, and he's too nice to just, tell us no straight up. So there's always that little dance going on. But yeah, I think for this year, he's back down that way again for 2020. So if they keep him, he was fantastic last year. He's one of their best, I reckon. And like you said, there was almost that glimmer of hope when Jamie Lyon said, "Oh, he's not going to play," but then they get Lukey Douglas instead. So it's just the standard they are. Ballina, they're always good, usually across all of the grades.
Yeah.
It's great for the club, and yeah, if they're the benchmark, then that's what we're going to have to beat. So.
Now, going along, we got the team that finished second last year, the runners-up from last year's grand final, Murwillumbah. This is an interesting one. They could go either way. I believe they'll be in the top 5. There's no doubt about that. Murwillumbah's they've always been thereabouts, but they've just always that one glimmer away. And just to put it in perspective, so Murwillumbah, you can recall this, Crossy, when we did that grand final qualifier. I feel if they win that, and if it wasn't for an absolute blinder from Jamie Lyon, that would take a grand final with a week off at Stan Seckham Oval in front of a hostile Mustangs crowd. And I think we would have seen a different scoreline, not necessarily saying Murwillumbah would win, but we wouldn't see a 38-18 scoreline. That would have been fresher. But then they were asked to go again against Casino the following week, and they took on a Casino team which had that desperation after winning that game against the Tweed Coast Raiders. And they were, for me, I still feel like Casino were the better team for 2/3 of that game, and it only took a couple of send-offs and Roy Bell to be sent off himself to actually pull it away. And with that being said, you look at and you've said it numerous times and time again. Although they featured in the big dance, they were just battered and bruised, and they're taking on a team like Ballina, which were desperate to pick up the title after losing it in 18. So is there anything further on that one, Crossy, with Murwillumbah?
Yeah, just thinking back, mate, as you allude to, I mean, they lost, I think it was Bailey Crompton for the grand final. He was suspended. We know that Joe Besgrove was playing injured, and he succumbed to that shoulder injury fairly early in that game. So, yeah, they sort of limped into that game. But you're right, Nev, they could have easily won that major semi-final. So they're there and thereabouts all the time. Nathan Jordan's a good coach. They've always got good depths in the forwards. I think they're missing Cade Hill, I was a big rap on. He was their young 18-year-old 5'8" through the finals. He was nearly the player of the finals, to be fair. So I think he rolls out. So I don't know who they've replaced him with. As we've said, and we'll probably say it a lot, we're not sure who's playing for who, given the circumstances that we're in. But they've, well coached. They're a great club. So, yeah, expect them to be in the sort of top 3 or top 5, I'd imagine.
Sure. Anything you want to add about Moolumba?
I can't add too much, but I reckon just looking from an outside, they're a well-run club. They've got great facilities. They've got a good leagues club there, good juniors. They're a strong historical rugby league town with a good pool of players, and they runners up last year, so no reason why they're not going to be there again this year.
Mickey?
Yeah, we've actually heard good things coming out of Mooloolaba being this side, or the northern side of the competition. We've heard they've been keen, they've been training. Like Crossy said, Bailey Crompton last year was a massive loss heading into the grand final, and they'll be definitely out to seek some revenge from last season. So I think they'll go really well, actually.
And then for going down further, we've got Casino, who finished 3rd last year. And that's another one of those. It's just going to show how funny this competition is. So you look at the likes of when they had a bit of they normally say if you have a rough run into the back end of a season going into the finals, you're just merely playing quantum fodder, making up the numbers. And if there was even further proof, that first game of the finals against Moolumba, when Moolumba beat them by 40 points to 6 to memory. And then it was just took that one effort, as I just mentioned, against the Tweed Coast Raiders, and then they almost got it done and got into a grand final berth out of nowhere. But then it also showed the hand how much they rely on the likes of Roy Bell. Now, I saw during the off-season, pre-COVID, mind you, I saw a rumour that he was lining up for South Grafton Rebels in the I don't know how true that is, and knowing that Group 2, I think, is not happening this year, whether he's gone back to centre. So once again, just, iterate, but let's just put it simply. They've got some good young players coming up as well, some representatives from the Northern Rivers Titans under 23s. So, but the thing is, it will be interesting to see if Roy Bell isn't there. Otherwise, that could be the difference of being in the top 4 or being in the bottom half of the 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if the other boys want to jump in there on any of that.
Well, I've left them out of the top 5 just for that reason, because I did see that same rumour that Roy Bell wasn't going to be there. He's such an experienced player. The Casino are always tough, though. They've always got talent and players coming through. But I think also the 10-round competition, it's really going to take into their home ground advantage, because when you've got the teams like the northern teams having to go to Casino, it's a pain. And if you've got to do that twice a year, it's a massive advantage for Casino. But you only got 5 home games this year. And if they're going to be playing teams like Lismore, it's only really, not a huge trip down the highway. So, I've left them out for that reason. But for Roy players can be completely different. So,
okay. Sorry, Sherry?
Oh, not too much, but I like Casino. They're a proud rugby league club. They really impressed me last season. I've got them in my top 5 just based on heart, and I think this competition, a lot of it is heart. So if you get out there and you put your all in, you can win any game you want.
Okay, moving further along. So Coogin. They had a strong start to the season last year. Then they had a few hiccups along the way. Then they had that. I actually went on to say that towards the second half of last year that they were going to feature in the grand final, as when we're getting towards the business end of the year. They got in. They had that, of course, that 22-all draw against Tweed to get into 4th in the round 18, and then they had the rematch. Yeah, it was say some, but then of course they had the first game of the finals, and it was a completely different scoreline altogether. But I feel they're going to be doing some big things this year, Coogin. I think, unfortunately, during the COVID, their leagues club, sadly, succumbed to fire. So I feel that Coogin are going to have some big stakes to play in this one, and I have them actually quite high in my top 5. So, thoughts, boys? Crossy?
Yeah, mate, you're right. That'd be interesting to see what that the off-season dramas with the club, probably, it often galvanises clubs and teams, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
I'm with you, Nev. I think they'll be playing finals footy. I think, not sure exactly where they'll finish, but they've generally, and Mickey will attest to it, they generally get a fairly good pick of the Southern Gold Coast sort of players that aren't interested in playing in the Gold Coast League. So they're always a strong team from a player point of view. And, they played finals last year. I think they'll be playing it again this year.
Miggy, you actually have a bit to do with the club, aside from Blamble, so you'd be able to iterate.
Yeah, well, my girlfriend actually plays for Coogin, so we're a little bit torn in the household at times. But, well, Caleb Zeeble returns for Coogin this year.
Really?
He was overseas last year, yeah, so he's going to be back, which is just going to be a huge boost for them. It's just one of those players that everyone wants to play with. They want to get around, so that'll be huge for the club. But yeah, they have to overcome the adversity of COVID-19 and their clubhouse. So if there's a club to do it, it could be Coogin, but at the same time, just the toll it could take on them. You're not allowed to do this because of COVID, and you're also not allowed to do this because you don't have a clubhouse. It might be too much, but if there's a club that can do it, it's definitely Coogin, and I hope they do have a big season given everything and the circumstances they've gone through.
Shari?
Well, they've got their opening game this Sunday against Byron, down in Byron, so they won't need the clubhouse this weekend. But I thought I saw them having a bit of a working bee and getting the community together. And like Crossy was saying, adversity brings strength and character and determination. So might give them a bit of spark. We'll see how they go this weekend. We're gonna get a good gauge of it. It's so hard guessing all these things. We don't know where everyone is. We're all basing this all on the end of last season, but I just can't wait.
Cannot change. And
Hey, Nev, I will just jump in and say there with Coogin, based on what Mickey said, if that's right, if Caleb Zeebel's playing, in my opinion, like they potentially go from being fourth or fifth to playing in a grand final. Like if he stays healthy, he makes that much of a difference, as I'm sure all of us agree. Like he's the best player in the comp, arguably, or in the one or two best players. So if Zeeble plays and plays all 10 games, if that's what we're looking at, then mate, all of a sudden I think they play in the grand final.
Absolutely, and he is.
Who did Caleb play for last season?
He didn't play last year.
Yeah, he was overseas. He was playing cricket in England.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, we mentioned Caleb Zeeble. He was country under 20 Freeze Player of the Year back in 2018. So he's got quite the accolade.
Motivation, so it's all happening.
And speaking of, we'll mention adversity, which brings me to the next team. Probably the team that suffered the most adversity on numerous scales, and everyone associated with the club with Tweed Coast Raiders. As I saw a mention today, or was it yesterday? Chris Rubes Cameron. They were having they were having a function, I believe, for him. Of course, he tragically passed away during the COVID lockdown period, and from myself and I guess with all the rest of the lads here, we want to extend our thoughts to anyone, the family and friends of Chris Rubes Cameron. Because it was also during one of the time when I was fully locked down as well. So no doubt the boys will be putting in an extra big effort for the coming season.
Yeah, big shout out, like you said, to Rubes' friends and family. We wish him all the best. And he was self-proclaimed finals MVP last year. Huge part of the Tweed Coast side, and it was it's a shocking loss, and it's going to be a big loss to cover. Like you said, they're having the function for him. They're raising money. They're getting the community. Tweed Coast love it. They just get right behind the club. It's one of those things where they'll get eventually stronger from it, but it's definitely sad news. He's going to be a hard player to replace. So we'll see how they go for 2020. But they'll definitely be forgiven if they have other things on their mind for the 2020 season. So,
Crosby?
Yeah, I just echo Mickey's thoughts there. And I'm just thinking about the Tweed Coast Raiders as a club. They've got a great sort of brotherhood down there, don't they, with the Langston boys. And I know Daniel Ross, and I know Jared DeTheory's a good mate of mine. He's not playing anymore, but he's doing a lot down there with the club in respect of the S&C and some mental health stuff as well that they've been doing, running some courses there, I guess, in light of what sort of happened that we've spoken about. So if there's ever a club that can sort of, all the boys just get together and say, bugger this, let's go, it's the Raiders. So love watching them play, and wish them well for the season.
And Shari?
Yeah, nothing but thoughts and prayers and respect to the young gentleman's family and friends.
Absolutely. And it's more on a football scale though too. Tweed Coast, I made mention they snuck into 5th spot last year, and they did have they, as you probably boys would all remember, that they had a rotten run of injuries right from the first game. Was it Drew Lanston? He done his leg in the first game against Northern United, and then, as I made mention in a few of the games last year, and you would remember. I'm just trying to remember which one of you two did that Northern United game with me last year in Lismore. Which was it you, Cross?
The Raiders. That was me.
Yeah, it was you.
Yeah.
Do you remember how many? I think we had a fresh thing of paper tape, and it was run out by the time we went through the Tweed Coast lineup with 10 go. There was about 10 changes, and it just iterated how thin on stocks they were.
Well, I remember because I was coaching at Tweed Seagulls at the time, and Tane Robinson, their grand final winning halfback from the year before, we'd played the day before, and he was in the crowd, and it was only the fact that Tane was there to tip me up, and he showed me the list, and it was nothing like what you and I had on the paper. So quickly the liquid paper come out and the changes were made. But it goes to show, and I've coached for a fair few years, mate. You have those years, like the year before they go through basically with no injuries and win a grand final, and the next year it's they can't take a trick, and it just happens. And so hopefully they're due for some luck this year.
And with a full squad, I believe they'll be in that top 5. I actually got them picked as well. So to iterate now, Shori, you've been waiting for this one. Byron Bay, as you mentioned, you were at training last night. You take the floor.
They've got a lot of new players. They've got a massive forward pack. We'll see how fit they are. They've got a lot of size, and they've got Todd Carney again, and he's fully committed. He's playing. He's fit and healthy. Yeah. He's running around. He loves it. All the conversations I've had with him, like when he joined, he's on a 3-year contract. This is year 2. I thought, getting a big gun into Byron, contracts, what are they worth these days? They're not worth the paper they're written on. And every time I chat to him, are you gearing up again? He's like, yeah, I've got a 3-year contract. And he's keen. Everyone loves him at the club. He loves it. I think he's happy with work and life around here. And so I think he's brought a lot of new players this year, and they're all dead keen. There's a lot of people learning off him, and he's getting everyone else in at training. Everyone's chatting, really vocal. That's what I really liked last night. Just the chat on the field sounded good, and I know that's a good sign. And everyone's getting their player, and everyone's running hard. And they're going to have a red hot crack. And they're some big boys. Some of them are not going to do that many minutes, but they're going to have a red hot go. But they've got a couple of good young fellas, and I'm excited. I'm always hopeful. We'll see how we go. I'm looking forward to this Sunday.
Now, that's pretty extensive, but Crossy, is there anything further you want to add to that? You've been the ex-coach and won titles as a coach and captain.
Yeah, well, it's been a while between drinks. I think we last won it in 2008. And so...
Don't worry, I still bring up my under-14's best and fairest, so you can bring it up.
Well, that's good. But I hope for Todd Carney's sake and for the Bay's sake to have a good year. And you only ever hear good things down there that Todd's doing, and he often gets some bad raps from what's gone on in the past. But for anyone that really knows him, and I don't know Todd Carney well, but all the things you hear are really good, like Shori's saying. So good on him. He's doing a good job. Hopefully he can play some footy this year. I know he struggled with the hamstring and a few things last year. So let's hope Carney can play some footy and and really lead him to a good year.
And Mickey, how are you looking forward to getting down to Red Devil Park on would it be your first time at Red Devil Park, being away from the Gold Coast League, or
I think I've played there in the past. I'm older than I look, so I've definitely played there. I am. I like going down to Byron Bay, make a day of it. You know, you get to go have lunch or something, or go to the pub afterwards. So it's a good day down there. I'm a big fan of Todd Carney as well as a player. He's an ex-Raider. Even watching him last year, he was really good in the games he played. I was under the assumption that he wasn't playing this year. I thought he was only coaching. So that's going to be a huge boost to Byron, and it's it might have to make me rethink my top 5 tips. So
do you know what another reason why people like to play there too, and I can vouch for this because I only played as a up to under 14s or so, but when you get smashed in there, it's that sand-based surface is like a mini pillow. It's not like playing out at Kyoga when you get tackled into bitumen. So so the hits don't hurt as harder, but not saying that the players don't hit as harder, but the surface there, nice soft sand surface, especially if it's raining. But with that being said, following Byron now for a little while, they went from grand final 2014, then they were thereabouts, and they kind of went down. Then there was a rebuild phase, and then they were 2 unlucky losses from making that grand final last year. When they were leading 16-0 against Mullumbimby, and when we did the Kyoga game, Shorey, they were, I thought, were the better team for the majority of the game, and then didn't get it done. So that's 4 points there, and that would have hosted them a final. And then they, in that bottom half of the second half of the season, they went on to beat Casino. They flogged Coogin, and they had a tug of war against Moorlambar, and so they could have been in that grand final if it wasn't for that. But with that being said,
they also managed to beat Tweed Coast Raiders in their trial game, who were the reigning premiers.
And they beat Tweed Coast Raiders in the season last year. So they beat all the teams in the top 5 in the most important part of the year, except with the exception of Ballina. And look, would Byron have won the grand final? Probably not. They could have been in the grand final though. But with that being said, knowing what Shorey's just iterated and what's happened from there, there's absolutely we can all agree there's no excuse now for Byron not to be in this top 5 this year, knowing that. Plus being a shorter season as well too.
And I think the shorter season for a club like the Bay will suit them because, speaking from experience, blokes lose interest there quick because they got a lot of external distractions. Not that other clubs don't, but it's a party town, it's a surfing town, and it's hard to keep guys engaged. As Mickey said earlier about the Casino Road League, like training on a Thursday night and we're playing casino. And all of a sudden, bloke's got these mystical injuries mysterious injuries. You think, oh, that's interesting. Where was that? On Tuesday. So, if they've only got the 5 away games, then maybe they can stay healthy. They're a big chance.
Okay, just moving along now. So speaking, as we're talking about the Byron Bay players, a few ex-Byron Bay players have come back home to Morris Brothers. So we can all agree now they finished second last or thereabouts last year, and that I think Evans had got their only win of the season at the last game. But in all fairness, with Morris Brothers, I feel it doesn't reflect how I know they finished towards the bottom of the ladder last year, but watching them call a bunch of their games last year, they weren't far off. They gave Casino a decent run on a cold Saturday night, as you remember, Shorey, and one of the games of the season. And I believe now that I've got them in. I think I've got them in my 5 as well, or just outside it. Then you've got all the players the Kennedy, the boys, Mitchell Krause have all come back home. I feel that all those boys back, I reckon. I mean, I know only one way is up with them, but I think they're in for a big year too.
Yeah, I might just jump in there, boys, because there's a bit close to home for me there. The King, Mitchell Krause, one of my favourites. He can win games on his own if they're close enough in games, and with the Kennedy boys there. And I just know Danny Lee's the coach, and Mark Sivright helping him out there. And Sivvy's a great fellow. I played footy against Sivvy. He's enthusiastic, and the stuff they're doing off the field for the club, and they're getting a lot of old boys back involved. And for Mickey, you'd appreciate this, mate, being involved in clubs. When you've got old boys around footy that are just there filling up water bottles and, giving you a tap on the arse as you run past, and just encouragement. I mean, that just builds culture in footy clubs. And before COVID hit, I mean, I've got a good S&C coach that coached me when I was playing Queensland Cup at Tweed. I mean, he's driving from Currumbin to go down to Morris Brothers training every Tuesday night because he's an ex-old boy, you can't buy things like that. And there's things like that going on at Morris Brothers now, which I just love. And I just hope they have a great year, the brethren. Daryl Butcher's back there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. Fantastic.
Shorey?
Yeah, all about it. Just hearing that from Crossy. Yeah, tingles up the spine. It's like Alfie Langer running out for the Broncos, giving water and that culture and club culture or just management culture, business culture. It's very important. So if they've got all those things with them, it's a foundation you can bounce off and succeed.
And Mickey?
Yeah, I'm actually a fan of the Morris Brothers this year. I've got them in my top 5, and I do all the social media for the Lamble as well. So I like to stalk all the other clubs' social media pages and things like
That's
that.
a job. Sorry, that's a job for you, Shorey, for Byron. That would be something you'd do.
I was doing Byron, just shocking. I'm trying to pump up Byron, and it's just Benny Webber's blurry face.
Sorry, Mickey, go.
It looks like a great field. Like, they're professional. But pre-COVID, these are all pre-COVID, of course. So they're signing Leon King and Kyle Kennedy and the other players. And I really think they are in for a big year.
Yeah.
And even though what they finished on the ladder last season, it doesn't represent of how the season actually went for them.
Yeah.
And if they get a bit more excitement, they're in for a good year, I think. So.
Yeah, I think for me, they've got probably one, if not the best ground in the Northern Rivers at Crozier Oval, and as well as Oaks Oval too. Pleasure to call games out there, and they're all friendly there. And Benny the Ram, if you're watching, I'm giving him a shout out too. You'll love it.
He's a legend, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he was doing that when I was playing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He's that loyal. So that's the thing, you old boys. Yeah, like you.
Yeah, and I'm 57.
Oh, come on, Crosby.
Yeah.
Now the
You've been having Carney's injectables. You look great.
So moving along, we go to the crosstown rivals, Northern United, who share Crozier Oval as well. I just think it's simple for Northern United. If they have their fresh team on the pack, out in the paddock, should I say? We did this podcast, me and Shorey, just the other day when, I won't go into it too much now because what I've spoken about 100 times is that game against Kyogle. I think it's pretty simple, and just on not just that game alone, but a few others. Byron Bay is an example, and the game that we did, that Northern United Tweed Coast game, Crossy, they can tear up the most solid granite-like defence with their attack, and I think they've got attack which is right up there with the likes of Ballina. However, what's letting them done is they leak in just as many points as they score. And I said to Shorey in the podcast the other day that it's not every day you score 38 points and don't win. So I think that's pretty simple. I think they fix their defence and they'll be in that top 5.
Yeah, and mate, I said obviously on our group chat there the other day, if it's true that Brett Kelly's there, they could do anything. If Brett Kelly's healthy and if Clarence is still there, Clarence Kelly, then those two alone can keep them in games. Brett Kelly could nearly win them a comp on his own if he's got a couple of helpers around him. So if Bretty Kelly's there and healthy, then, the world's their oyster. And
Mickey, you actually also going for when we were doing each other's top 5, you actually got Northern United in your top 5. Is that right?
Yeah, I had them finishing at 5th. Yeah. The main reason was I think they will be the club that could definitely benefit from the other teams deciding not to play this season, the Evans, the Kyogle, and the Northern United. And I think if they could, I don't know how far the distance is really from, say, Northern United to Lower Clarence and things for training in Kyogle. But if they can, benefit the most from those other clubs not playing, like you said, their style of play, it's so entertaining. They got the Kelly boys there, and they could surprise a lot of people, and so they've snuck into my 5.
And Shorey?
Well, that's what I was thinking. We were discussing this in the podcast the other night. If these other teams aren't playing, they've got to have a lot of gun players. Where are they going? I don't think they're just going to sit at home on the couch this season and watch. I reckon they might be. There might be a few sneaky gun signings from Kyogle and Evans Head and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And you might be a bit savvy. Northern might have picked a couple of up. They've got Kelly. Maybe he gets a couple of unguarded players, and they've blow them out of the water.
And look, it's times like this. I wish we still had we could find out who went to and from, but also the fact that we only knew we were doing this a couple of weeks ago, and so we haven't really caught up with it. So, but we'll find that out as time go on. And look, as I said, sorry, Mickey.
I was saying it's exciting in a way that we don't know.
I know,
It's come
that's true.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like, and I have, and we're gonna display all the tips and stuff. In the next, after we cover the next couple of teams, and I have saved these, so at the end of the season we will see how close we actually really came. So Mullumbimby, that's a team that you had in your top 5 story. Yeah, they're a team that went from, they had a good 2018 season. They a bit unlucky against Moorlambar in that elimination semi-final in 18, but then they just kind of went off the rails a bit. They had their highlights for last year, but why do you think now that they'll be top 5?
I like their management style, and it was Adam Fella down there who runs the club. Like, he's got Mullumbimby removal. They get a bunch of players in from England, give them, removalists. They organise, they follow their social media going into it. I just always back my plate for Mullum too for a little bit, and I like them. But so we'll see.
We'll see what happens. But I mean,
I've got faith in them.
How about you, Crossy? What did you see at Mullumbimby last year, which they need to, the steps they need to get to potentially threaten for that top 5?
Yeah, they're always all effort, aren't they? A game against Mullum's never easy. It's always, particularly, I'm probably wearing the Byron Bay hat there. It's a local derby. It's always tough. But sure, he's right. I mean, you've got blokes like Adam McKenzie there involved that they've always got good old boys around the club there, which always just gives them a bit of depth. There's always any number of guys lining up to play reserve grade that, might be 40, 42 years old, but they're just doing it for the club. And that's, that's that whole club culture thing. Mate, what have they got to do? Well, I'm not sure. They probably need some smart halves, some guys that can win them some games when it's close. I think Wade Kelly's gone down there in a bit of an assistant coaching role.
Actually, that's one thing I did say. Yeah, I did say shifted from Moorlambar.
So if that's the case, if Kelly's still there, like he's a smart operator. He knows his footy, and he'll be a really good help for the sort of the young halves and stuff down there. Look, to be honest, Neville, I didn't have them featuring in the 5. I think there's probably a bit too many others that would feature. And I guess what we don't know, and it's probably a good point to make now, is the fact that because the Queensland Cup's not operating, we don't know what sort of guys are going to start sprinkling through some of these other teams, So, there could be guys, and the northern clubs will always benefit just purely because of the geographical nature of where they sit. But, who knows? You could have a couple of guys turn up and play for Mullum that are Queensland Cup players. We're hearing that, and Mickey might know, but a guy like Cameron Cullen might be playing at Tweecast Raiders. I don't know if that's still happening, but that's an example of things that could happen. So at the moment, Mullum, I don't see him probably featuring, but who knows?
Mickey?
We got an ex-Jet, Darcy Earl. He actually plays for Mullum. He's been in the last few seasons, and he's a great player. I was talking to the gym the other day, and they're pretty pumped for the season. Mullumbimby, they're ready to go, and they're ready to play. There's a good vibe, but I think Crossy mentioned it before, where they've got the players and everyone's keen to play, say, reserve grade, but it's just making that little extra leap to the first graders, like the consistent and reliable first graders. And I think it's just going to be a challenge for Mullumbimby, and I don't think they'll have a bad season. But I don't think they're going to make the finals this year as well. So,
and now, last but certainly not least, the new boys, your mob, Mickey, Bilamble Jets. You've been going through all these teams from last year. So, just to iterate, he's finished. Was it second? Was it ninth or so? 8th or 9th on the Rugby League Gold Coast competition. So. Yeah, there is a bit of stiff competition up there, even though there's not as many teams. How do you think the transition now will go from Rugby League Gold Coast to Nrrrl? And just let us know what's going on, but not too much, so the opposition will be watching.
We finished 6th from 17. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
But in saying that, last year we did we beat every other side in the competition, except Burleigh. Burleigh they might have went through undefeated, maybe a draw. And actually,
they lost 1 or 2. They did have a draw because me and Crossy actually got called up to defect over for one weekend at Pizzy Park against Tugan. That was a 16-all draw.
We had a draw against Tugan as well. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so it's just going to be a completely different competition. I don't think it matters at all how we went last year or the previous years when we're playing in the Northern Rivers competition, just because we, as a club, we'd like to kind of start fresh or start differently. And it was a very close competition last year. I think it was like 2 or 3 points from, 4th place to us 6th place not making the finals and things like that. So we do have a Q Cup NRL player playing for us this season, Ryan James. Ryan James. You heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
But yeah, I'm only joking. He's not playing. We might get a few of those borderline players, the Q Cup players that are juniors. One that has been down there is Jacob Hind. He was at Burleigh for this year, and they're not playing, so he's a junior. He's coming back. But it's been a lot of the players who haven't played in a few years coming back to the club as well. We got Jackson Springer. He's back from overseas. He's keen to play. Mitch Captain. Mitch Spackman is our captain.
Yes, I actually remember him from that game last year, and it's just to iterate and just the vibe of because I did that one game last year, and it's just like, oh wow, how can I put it? It's because it was the ladies round as well when we did, so they were playing the purple and blue jersey, and it just was this it's like you drive along. If you've never been to Bulambu, you drive along and it's like sort of like going to Kyogle, and it's just a whole nother community there. And we come out and it's just like everyone just gets amongst it. I know a lot of clubs do, but it's just that extra little bit of, and it's and I was looking through the results even before doing that game. It's it wouldn't say it's not so much as like it's a fortress, but it's just it buys you an extra couple of tries and what you probably wouldn't get if you're away. It's sort of that kind of ground. It just gives you that extra bit of adrenaline, and I certainly gave me that when I was calling that one game there. But Crossy, anything you want to add on the Bulambu front?
Well, mate, Bulamble's a great club, and it's I suppose for the Northern Rivers teams. I mean, in the Gold Coast comp, Bulamble is like that tricky team that you're expected to beat, but it's never bloody easy, and that's a great trait to have as a club. So I can see them having a pretty good year. It's nothing better than driving down the hill, down to the field of Bulamble there, and it's a great atmosphere. And they could, Mickey and the boys there, they could make that a real tough road trip for all the other teams. So again, without sort of knowing too much about their squad, they'll be super competitive, the Jets, and yeah, good to have them in the comp.
Sure. Did you ever play out there when you were a junior? You were in that Group 18 comp when you were... No?
Doesn't ring a bell. No, we never went up there. But what Mickey was saying, that in such a tough competition with the Burleigh Bears and all those guys, and they managed to beat nearly every other side in that comp, and what he just said about only being 4-6 off the top of the finals, that's really impressive. And that shows that they're a stand-up club, and that night, coming 7th out of 8th or 8th out of 9th doesn't reflect too much of the performance.
Absolutely.
They're going to come down and they're going to shake us up. And it's really exciting, to welcome a new club into our comp, and they become a bit of a family. So I reckon it's really great. Yeah. So welcome aboard, Mickey.
Welcome aboard on two fronts,
and
Mickey.
The Jets.
Yeah. So as we now completed the 10 teams that are, so of course, unfortunately, Kyogle, Evans, Headlong, and Clarence aren't featuring this year. So all clubs, we better feature the lower grades. So all the clubs have got 4 teams with the exception of Casino and Byron Bay. They've pulled out in the ladies competition, and in the under 18s, Northern United and Mullumbimby don't have an 18s. And New's got a ladies tag team this year for the first time, Mickey, Bulambu Jets.
Yeah, the ladies, they're pumped about it. They're really excited. This weekend actually is going to be the first ladies league tag game that they've actually played. They didn't get to play any trials. They didn't get to, have a bit of a run before because of all COVID. So it's literally this weekend
That'll
is
be
the
interesting.
first a lot of them have ever even played of the sport. So it's going to be exciting. It's good. They're a great bunch of ladies down there. They're getting amongst the club spirit, and we've always had, like you said, we had the women in league round. We have the ladies' day down Balambal. So the ladies have always been part of Balambal, and it's going to be real cool having them actually compete on game day with us as well. So.
And then just one question, Mickey. So is it true or false that you tried to convert your missus over the off-season to come from Coogin to Balambal? You would have.
Well, actually, I never mentioned it to her once. I never said it at all because her dad used to play for Coogin. Her uncles, her brother, the Chadburns, they're proud Coogin. And I never mentioned to her once. And one day she's just come in and she said, "Why haven't you asked me to play for Balambal?"
Because you're a lovable chap, mate. You didn't. You're just trying to keep it, level playing field.
And I said, "Would you say yes?" I did, and she's like, "No, I'd play for Coogin." And I said, "Well, that's
well, this will be interesting, Mickey, because I think you and I lined up again for round 3 when Balambal play Coogin. Do we need to order some security for you so you don't say the wrong thing?
Well, no, honestly, last year I was always going for the Coogin Ladies League tag side as well.
Yeah.
And I had Balambal men's to support. But, yeah, this year, I don't know, Balambal play Coogin.
Okay, so that's the preview of the club. So we'll just quickly go through the top 5 that we all picked plus this weekend's tips. And so let's just have a look here. So, Shori, I'm going to bring up your top 5 first. Just have a look at that. Sorry, that's
times.
Sorry, what have we got there? I'm just trying to think. Is that Mickey round 1? Is that the?
We got his tip. That's a great shot of Mickey too. Looking very
okay.
good.
So we'll do the tips first. I picked up the wrong one. Okay, so Mickey, obviously we got Balambal versus Ballina there, so that's no surprise there. We can know that's good. So you got Moolumbar against,
and so these are commentators' picks. You're not being biased. This is just your brain picks, not your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, here we go. Come on.
Okay, so we'll go through the game for round 1. So we got Balambal, obviously the stream game, Balambal versus Ballina, which me and Mickey will be doing on Sunday. We got Tweed Coast against Moolumbar. I think it's Mara's Brothers versus Casino, Northern United versus Mullumbimby, and of course, as Shori mentioned numerous times, Byron Bay versus Coogin at the bottom there. So, Mickey, just run through just a brief overview of your tips there.
Yeah, I think one of the main advantages we're going to have at Balambal this year is the element of surprise. We've completely changed, so it's almost going to be a year of an ambush. We can come in, take people by surprise, and what better team to surprise than the reigning premiers Ballina round 1 at Balambal.
Okay, so who's that good? All right, so I've got Ballina. I've got Ballina against Balambal. I just think Ballina are just, as I said, they're on another level at the moment. But as you said, the element of surprise could, catch them undone. I mean, Mullumbimby did that a couple of years ago in the first round on Ballina's home turf. So anyone can win on their day. I actually picked the Raiders at home against Moolumbar. I think Moolumbar, especially last year, they sort of get in there. They sort of go in the first gear and then gradually come good towards the end of the year. And I just think Tweed Coast have got a bit to play for. Maris Brothers to beat Casino, just as I made mention. Maris Brothers, I think they're expecting big things, and the uncertainty of what's happening with Casino with a couple of players. I've got Northern United to beat Mullumbimby, and this one could go the way Byron Bay against Coogin. I just think Byron, they've had Coogins' number. They beat them well in Byron, and they should have beaten them at the return game or previous to that at Coogin. They were down up 16 points, and Coogin got a draw out of it. I think Byron and I think Coogin, as I still mentioned, they're still going to have some big things throughout the year. Crossy.
Yeah, mate, it looks like I've gone Ballina there. I think, the Jets are a worry in that round 1, but I think, Ballina are probably all their guys are so professional. They would have looked after themselves. They'll be ready to go. Mate, as we said at the top, it's sort of guesswork here. I like Maris Brothers to jump out of the blocks and get a win first up. And I'll back the Bay. They're at home, Shori?
Correct.
Yeah, so I'll back the Bay to beat Coogin in a real close one, 24-22 at home.
Oh, he's picking the score and everything. And
Todd
so,
Carney will kick it from 2 metres in from touch to win.
there we go, Shorey.
I was wondering what photo you're going to use. Thank you.
Thank
Ballon to win. But, now looking at it, Ballon are going to have to really play their hearts out to beat Ballon at home. Ballon are going to come out firing, I reckon. It's going to be, I think it could be round of the match. I've got Wollongbar against Tweed Coast. Wollongbar, I liked them last year. They look good. I reckon they got a good forward pack. Casino, I really like, though I don't know anything, and you guys have told me all about Morris Brothers, so now I might flip my tips, but too late.
Too late. It's already on the
Mullumbimby against Northern United. From what I've heard again from the experts, we could maybe flip that. Now we know Brett Kelly's with Northern. And, Byron are going to be too good for Coogin at home.
Okay. And so that's with round 1 out of the way. Let's just see. Here we go. So I'm just going to now bring up the top 5. Let's have a look. See here. It's the first show. What can you expect? It's just here we go. Let's just see if I can bring this up now. Come on. Here we go. So Shora, you're first up. So that's your top 5 there. I think, as we all said, we've all tipped Ballina to go back-to-back minor premiers. And so you've got Casino there 3rd, and you've got Mulliman 4th.
Yep. These are the tips for the end of the season.
God. It's all happening. Hang on.
Bit of professionalism, please, Dwayne.
Okay, yeah.
The listeners at home.
Well, I mean, when I sit, here we go. Let's just say, let's try this one. As I said, my excuse is it's the first show.
Not live, is it?
Oh, hang on.
It's okay.
It's the same one.
Okay, well,
Okay,
we're obviously having a
there's,
few technical difficulties with that, but still not as bad as what your technical difficulties on your end there, Shori. So I must iterate. Okay.
So we just had Deji's mum coming to the screen.
Okay, hang on.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Can you see it? Shori?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. So there we go. We can see your tips there now.
Oh, sorry.
So top
Sure,
5.
it's top 5 for the comp to win the comp.
Yeah,
Ballina,
yep.
how do you bet against them? Going off form from last season, Moorlambar, they made to the grand final last year. I'm going to back him again. Mullumbimby, I did revise my tips later, I think, and I put Byron Bay at the top. But Mullum, I like him based on heart. Byron's skill. Carney's going to kick him to a lot of wins and perhaps fall short. Casino, play on heart, and they'll get into the top 5.
Okay, Mickey, even you've got Ballina on first, but you've put Belandel second. So that's just to iterate. We're on agreement, or are you just going to cop it come Sunday? Or
Yeah.
is that your way? Is that your own show? You're going to show some impartiality come Sunday?
Nah, no way.
Okay. Well,
The top 5 is it comes down to that round 8 where you have to play a team twice throughout the season.
Okay.
And kind of looked, and it couldn't have to play Belamble twice, so 2 losses for Coogin there. And Morris Brothers, who I like, have to play Tweed Coast twice, so that's kind of a very hard kind of draw. And also, the Byron Bay and Northern United play each other twice. So I think those games, whoever gets that extra game, if you lose 4 games this year, you could not get the final. So I think those teams that have the kind of harder 2-team draws, whereas Ballina played Mullumbimby twice, you don't know. So that's how I've made the top 5.
All right. So I've gone, well, as I said, Ballina, it's theirs to lose. As I said, I reckon come October, when is the grand final this year? October 18. I'll be introing the grand final saying it's the more iconic than the big prawners I have for the last 2 years. And they've had it every year since 2013, except for one. Coogin, I'm actually putting second. I just think that there's just something about Coogin that's going to, although I tip Byron for round 1, I just think Coogin they're a very professional team, though. I just think that in a shorter season, and they've got a few game good start to the season as well. Moorlambar, they're always going to be thereabouts. I think Tweed Coast yeah, I think they've plateaued and they're always going to be amongst that top 5 thereabouts. And as I said, I think Byron will get in that top 5. And as I said, they've got no excuse not to this year. But I think I've got him in there. Now, Crossy, we'll go back a bit. No, you're after me there. There you go. That's the floor's yours.
Yeah, okay, mate. So you can pretty much, put a line through most of these if we, it's guesswork, as we said. But
I may have some more faith. Come on.
I think it'd be good to revisit this maybe after the first 2 rounds and just see who's playing for who. But I think no matter what, I think my Ballon will be there. I did have Kudjin down at 5th, but with Caleb Zeeble playing, if he's healthy, I could put them straight into probably 2nd spot there. But I'm happy with that makeup. I've left the Raiders out, which I wasn't overly comfortable with. I think they could do something. And also Balambula are largely the unknown. But for mine, Ballon are on top, and they're going to be very hard to beat again.
And you can see there, Shory with his iPhone. He's going to be posting some on the Instagram in the next 10 minutes, probably even sooner.
I popped the Wednesday night footy show, better than Thursday night footy.
Okay, so hang on, we'll go on here. Just one sec. Hang on.
I like this format, by the way, Dwayne.
Yeah, it's a great format. How good is that? So we only had like one little stuff up there with our first show. How good is that?
Outstanding.
Oh, it's a great format.
Well done, Nev.
Yeah, so it's almost happening, boys. I know we live in an uncertain world at the moment with COVID, but we've come farther than what most of us would have thought. But this year, I thought we would have been, and it's already the longest off season. I thought it was going to be an even longer one, but we're 4 days away. Let's just enjoy it. And next week, no doubt, we'll review round 1 and see where we're at.
I mean, none from 5 in my tips.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Mate, as I said, this could be 5 from 5 or none from 5, but that's the joy of it. We're all in this. We know about as much as each other and certain things, but what a first podcast, boys. It's been such a pleasure having you all on here, and let's do it all again next weekend.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so Crossy, great seeing you as always, brother, and looking forward to doing the game throughout the course of the season. Shory, have a good day out of Byron. Don't play up too much. And Mickey, I'll see you Sunday for the first game on the call between Ballina and Balamble. So that is the grand final winners from last year and the newcomers into the Nrrrl season. So absolute pleasure being on the first Nrrrl themed podcast here on the Duaneo podcast. And we'll do it all again next week. Enjoy the footy, get out to one of the games, and we'll see you on Sunday at Balamble. Have a good night.